Hello, my name is Fiona Lee Jones, and in this video I will go over all the archetype cards by Caroline Myss. I have used these cards for many years and I keep coming back to them. These cards have helped me when I felt stuck. They've also helped me when I needed some insight into my inner patterning that may have been sabotaging me in some way or another. So included in this archetype card box is a guidebook as well as the deck of cards. And these cards are here to shine light on our psyche and give us greater insights into how we are wired on a spiritual level. These cards can help us discover what drives us, what our motivations are, and look at how certain archetypes have disempowered and empowered us. So a little history. Archetypes have been around since Plato's time. Carl Jung was the first one who connected archetypes with modern consciousness. And most archetypes are psychological patterns that come from historical roles in life, such as the mother, the child, the trickster, the servant. They can also be universal events or circumstances such as death or rebirth. So Carl Jung believed that there was a collective unconsciousness that is inherent in all individuals that is made up of mostly archetypes and mythological figures. These archetypes become personalized when they are part of our own psyche and soul's agenda, or our reason for being here. These archetypes reveal the foundation of our personality, our drives, our feelings, our beliefs, our motivations, and our actions. When we start to see how they show up in our lives and track their patterns instead of ignoring or denying their presence, these archetypes can become our ally, a friend and helper rather than an enemy. So there's a light and a shadow attribute for each archetype. This can be seen as a good news and a bad news for each of the cards. So when we are aware of our inner wirings and patterns, they are less likely to drive us unconsciously, and we are less likely to fall into the shadow manifestation of these archetypes. So the more conscious and aware we are of how the archetype patterns influence our behaviors, the more we will inhabit a consciousness that is associated with spiritual empowerment, rather than spiritual disempowerment. According to Caroline Myss, we each have these four archetypes: the child, the victim, the saboteur, and prostitute archetypes. She suggests that we choose 8 more archetypes to create a total of 12 archetypes that resonate with us. Archetypes that you feel play a major role in your life. And your attraction may be a positive or negative one. It may be something you desire or something you are in resistance to, like the fool or servant archetype. But these aren't negative archetypes. It's only our interpretation of them that makes them positive or negative. So once you have your 12 cards, some questions you can ask your archetype include: number 1, which events or personal characteristics led me to choose this archetype? Number 2, how long has this archetype pattern been part of my life? Number 3, what role has this archetype played for me? Number 4, which prominent people have interacted with the aspect of my nature supported by this archetype? Number 5, what relationship might it have to my personal unfinished business, to those people I haven't forgiven, or to events in the past that I can't let go of? And might this archetype now help me in healing those situations? Number 6, what myths, fairy tales, or spiritual stories that have meaning for me do I associate with this archetype? Number 7, has this archetype appeared in my dreams? Number 8, does thinking of this archetype make me feel empowered or disempowered? Number 9, what impact has this archetype had on my spirituality? Number 10, what have I learned about my own shadow aspect through this archetype? Number 11, has it caused me to block or forego changes that need to happen, or has it facilitated that change? And number 12, what guidance might this archetype have to offer me in the present moment? So those are some questions you can ask each of the archetypes and to see if they resonate with you and play a major role in your life. Okay, so now I'm going to go through each of the cards. So as I said earlier, each card will have a light attribute and a shadow attribute, kind of two sides of one coin. They kind of represent a good news and a bad news. And it's all about awareness. It's about becoming aware of where you fall into the patterning. So the first one is guide. The light attribute represents the nature of the divine in life and in yourself. The shadow attribute, placing financial gain and control over imparting spiritual insight. Priest. So the light attributes include facilitates spiritual commitments, serves as a channel of spiritual energy. And the shadow attributes violates the trust of your spiritual community, seduced by your own spiritual role. Child, magical. Light attributes, seeing the potential for sacred beauty in all things, the belief that everything is possible. And the shadow attributes, pessimism, depression, and disbelief in miracles, believing that energy and action are not required for growth. Angel, the light attribute, helping those in need with no expectation of return. Shadow attributes, acting innocent or angelic to mislead others, falsely claiming to be in touch with angelic guidance. Martyr, the light attribute, learning the transcendent nature of service to oneself or a cause. Shadow attribute, addicted to self-pity. Child, eternal, the light attributes, determination to remain young in body, mind, and spirit, ability to see things with fresh eyes. Shadow attributes, inability to grow up and be responsible, extreme dependency on others for physical security. Lover, light attributes, great passion and devotion, unbridled appreciation of someone or something. Shadow attributes, obsessive passion that harms others, self-destructive devotion. Healer, the light attributes, passion to serve others by repairing the body, mind, and spirit, ability to help transform pain into healing. Shadow attributes, taking advantage of those who need help, failing to care for oneself. Poet, light attribute, expresses soul insights in symbolic language. Shadow attribute, turns a lyric gift to negative or destructive effect. Networker, light attributes, enhances unity through the sharing of information, engenders social awareness and empathy. Shadow attributes, conveys information only for personal gain, spreads fear and falsehood. Destroyer, light attributes, releasing what is potentially destructive, preparing for a new life. Shadow attributes, intoxication with destructive power, destroying one's dreams or potential. Detective, light attributes, great powers of observation and intuition, desire to seek out the truth. Shadow attributes, voyeurism, falsifying information. Midas, miser. So the light attributes, entrepreneurial or creative ability to turn anything to gold, delight in sharing life's riches. Shadow attributes, hoarding money and emotions, obsessive fear of losing your wealth. Child, wounded. Light attributes, awakens compassion and desire to serve other wounded children, opens the learning path of forgiveness. Shadow attributes, blames all dysfunctional relationships on childhood wounds, resists moving on through forgiveness. Trickster, light attribute, transcending convention, stuffiness, and predictable behavior. Shadow attribute, manipulating others through duplicity. Companion, light attributes, loyalty, tenacity, and unselfishness. Shadow attributes, betrayal by misusing confidences, loss of personal identity. Virgin, light attribute, maintaining symbolic purity of heart and spirit. Shadow attribute, fear of intimate union. Pioneer, light attribute, passion for doing and creating what has not been done before. Shadow attribute, compulsive need to keep moving on. Teacher, light attribute, ability to communicate knowledge, experience, skill, or wisdom. Shadow attributes, manipulating or abusing students, teaching negative traits and destructive skills. Storyteller, light attribute, ability to experience and express life through stories and symbols. Shadow attribute, making up tales that harm others. Saboteur, the light attribute, highlights your fear of self-empowerment and the changes it would bring to your life. Shadow attribute. Induces self-destruction behavior or the desire to undermine others. Femme fatale. So the light attributes. Highlights the erotic energy of the feminine. Opens your heart when your dependency is rejected. Shadow attributes. Inappropriate use of sensuality. Attachment to money and power. Child, nature. The light attributes. Friendships with animals. Communication with spirit animals. Child, nature. Light attributes. Friendships with animals. Communication with nature spirits. Shadow attribute. Tendency to abuse animals, people, and the environment. Damsel. The light attributes include understanding the nature of healthy romance, inspires you to rely on yourself. Shadow attributes, waiting for a knight to provide for you, seduction by romantic illusion. Warrior, light attributes, strength, skill, discipline, and toughness of will. Heroism, stoicism, and self-sacrifice in conquering the ego. Shadow attributes, trading ethical principles for victory at any cost. Indifference to the suffering inflicted on others. Visionary, light attributes. Capacity to envision what is not yet conceivable to others. Willingness to proclaim a vision without regard for personal gain. Shadow attributes. Selling insights to the highest bidder. Compromising your vision to make it more acceptable. Alchemist, light attribute. Transformation of base motives and goals into golden wisdom. Shadow attribute. Misuse of the power and knowledge that come through spiritual practice. Gambler, light attribute. Willingness to follow intuition even when others doubt you. Shadow attribute. Relying on luck rather than hard work. Thief, light attribute. Sheds light on the potential wealth within you that can never be stolen. Shadow attribute. Stealing money, creative ideas, affection, or other powers you think you lack. Dilettante, light attributes. Delights in the arts without having to be a professional. Alerts you to the danger of becoming superficial in your pursuits. Shadow attribute. Pretension to much deeper knowledge than you actually possess. God, light attributes. Benevolence and compassion, recognizing the eternal force within yourself and others. Shadow attributes. Despotism and cruelty, using power to control people. Samaritan, light attribute. Refines your capacity to help those you would prefer to ignore. Shadow attribute. Exacting appreciation and recognition for the help you offer. Bully, light attributes. Highlights your tendency to intimidate others. Helps you confront your inner fears that bully you. Shadow attribute. Conceals deep fears behind verbal or physical abuse. Servant, light attribute. Delight in serving others with a free and loving heart. Shadow attribute. Using the lack of money as an excuse not to move forward with your life. Scribe, light attribute. Preserving knowledge and information. Shadow attribute. Altering facts or plagiarizing others' work. Seeker, light attribute. Thirst for wisdom and truth wherever they are. Shadow attribute. Inability to commit to a path once found. Shapeshifter, light attributes. Skill at navigating through different levels of consciousness. Ability to see the potential in everything. Shadow attribute. Projecting any image that serves your personal agenda in the moment. Slave, light attribute. Surrendering your power of choice to the divine with complete trust. Shadow attribute. Giving your willpower to an external authority out of fear of making your own choices. Vampire, light attribute. Makes you aware that someone or something is draining your life force. Shadow attributes. Depleting others for your psychic survival. Chronic complaining and codependency. Mediator, light attributes. Gift for negotiating fairness and strategy in personal and professional life. Respect for both sides of an argument. Shadow attribute. Negotiating with an ulterior motive. Shadow attribute. Negotiating with an ulterior motive or hidden agenda, either personally or professionally. Child orphan. Light attributes. Independence based on learning to go it alone. conquering fear of surviving. Shadow attributes, feelings of abandonment that stifle maturation, seeking inappropriate surrogate families. Messiah, light attribute, serving humanity with humility. Shadow attribute, exaggerated belief that you are the only means through which a cause can succeed. Student, light attributes, humility and devotion to knowledge, openness to lifelong learning. Shadow attributes, arrogance in the pursuit of destructive knowledge, unwillingness to translate knowledge into action. Avenger, light attributes, desire to balance the scales of justice, righteousness on behalf of society or oneself. Shadow attribute, resorting to violence in the name of a cause. Athlete, light attributes, dedication to transcending physical limits, including handicaps, development of personal willpower and strength of spirit. Shadow attributes, misuse of athletic ability for selfish ends, false sense of invulnerability and entitlement. Artist, light attributes, expressing a dimension of life that is just beyond the five senses, inspiring others to see life symbolically. Shadow attributes, using talent as an excuse to mistreat others, posing as a starving artist to elicit pity. Liberator, light attributes, freeing yourself and others from outmoded beliefs, releasing negative thought patterns. Shadow attributes, imposing your own tyranny over those you claim to liberate, ignoring legitimate constraints. Gossip, light attributes, awakens consideration for the feelings of others, honoring trust. Shadow attributes, thrives on the power of passing on private or secret information, betraying confidences. Monk or nun, light attribute, selfless devotion and single-minded dedication to spirit. Shadow attributes, negative judgment of the physical world, excess piety. Mother, light attributes, nurturance, patience, unconditional love, joy in giving birth to life. Shadow attributes, smothering or abandoning children, instilling guilt in children for becoming independent. Hermit, light attributes, seeks solitude to focus intently on inner life, serves personal creativity. Shadow attributes, withdraws from society out of fear or negative judgments of others, refusing to help those in need. Rebel, light attributes, challenges authority to effect social change, rejects spiritual systems that do not serve inner needs. Shadow attributes, rejects legitimate authority out of anger, rebels out of peer pressure or fashion. Hero, heroine, light attribute, passion for a journey of personal empowerment. Shadow attribute, escapism and a false sense of heroism. Judge, light attributes, balancing justice and compassion, managing the fair distribution of power. Shadow attributes, offering only destructive criticism, misusing business, legal, or criminal authority. King, light attributes, enlightened, benevolent leadership, benefiting those in your charge. Shadow attributes, excessive feelings of entitlement, rulership without restraint. Knight, light attributes, loyalty, romance, and chivalry, a love of honor. Shadow attributes, allegiance to a destructive ruler or principle, romantic delusions. Child, divine, light attributes, innocence, purity, and redemption, suggest a special connection with the divine. Shadow attribute, an inability to defend oneself against negative forces. Mystic, light attribute, revels in intimate union with the divine. Shadow attribute, delusional rapport with the divine. Addict, light attribute, helps you recognize and confront addictive behavior. Shadow attributes, compromises integrity and honesty, allows an addictive pattern to have authority over our inner spirit. Prostitute, light attribute, accentuates the challenge of surviving without negotiating the power of your spirit. Shadow attribute, places material considerations and security above self-empowerment. Advocate, light attributes, inspires you to put compassion into action. Shadow attribute, embracing negative causes or committing to causes for personal gain. Fool, light attributes, fearlessly revealing emotion, helping people laugh at absurdity and hypocrisy. Shadow attributes, using humor to wound rather than liberate, denial of your emotional truth. Exorcist, light attribute, freeing yourself and others of destructive impulses. Shadow attribute, fear of facing your own demons. Engineer, light attributes, ability to give creative energy practical expression, talent for designing resolutions to common dilemmas. Shadow attribute, reliance on mechanistic solutions without regard for emotional consequences. Beggar, light attributes, confronts empowerment at the level of physical survival, awakens the spiritual authority of humility, compassion, and self-esteem. Shadow attribute, dependence on others to the exclusion of effort. Rescuer, light attributes, provides strength and support to others in crisis, acts out of love with no expectation of reward. Shadow attributes, assumes that the rescued will reciprocate, keeps the rescued one needy. Queen, light attributes, radiates the regal feminine, uses her benevolent authority to protect others. Shadow attributes, becomes arrogant when authority is challenged, controlling and demanding. Don Juan, light attribute, spotlights your positive seductive qualities. Shadow attribute, using the power of romantic attraction for private agendas. Father, light attributes, talent for creating and supporting life, positive guiding light within a tribal unit. Shadow attributes, dictatorial control, abuse of authority. Mentor, light attribute, passing on wisdom and refining a student's character. Shadow attributes, inability to allow the student to move on to the role of master, imparting false instruction. Goddess, light attribute, the feminine expressed through wisdom, nature, life, force, and sensuality. Shadow attribute, exploitation of the female nature and form. Prince, light attribute, romantic charm and potential for power. Shadow attribute, using power for self-aggrandizement. Hedonist, light attributes, inspires creative energy to embrace the good things in life, celebrates the beauty in yourself. Shadow attributes, pursues pleasure to the detriment of health, indulges at the expense of others. Victim, light attribute, prevents you from letting yourself be victimized or victimizing others. Shadow attributes, playing the victim for positive feedback in the form of pity, inability to maintain personal boundaries. So that's all the cards that are included in this deck. So I would recommend finding the 12 that you resonate most with and asking those archetypes questions to get insight and awareness into your inner patterns and drives and motivations.